The 4th Adeptus Custodes character has joined Tacticus, as Atlacoya, the Vigilator, becomes the 95th character overall to join the game. Today we'll see if this sister is really as silent as they say they are. The 4th Adeptus Custodes character is joining Tacticus, as Atlacoya becomes the next golden banana to join the game, and by the looks of her in-game model, this null maiden is keeping her chastity belt strapped firmly on her face as much as anywhere else. The reason for that is Atlacoya is a Sister of Silence, and a Psyker Hunter. In lore, the Sisters of Silence are an all-female order of psychic nulls who serve the Imperium by hunting and destroying psychers, witches and demons. They've taken a vow of silence, and they will not break it. Every member is a pariah, which is a human with no soul, and this means they create a null aura around them, a void that disrupts psychic powers and makes them terrifying to be around. The demons and sorcerers, her presence is suffocating. The mortals, her aura is just wrong, uncanny, like the feeling you're drowning while breathing air. Atlacoya herself is a Vigilator, and they stand as the apex predator of the Sisters of Silence, a warrior trained not only in bladecraft, but in psychological annihilation. Among the ranks of these null maidens, she is death made silent, an executioner without voice, fear, or hesitation. And where others bring armies, a Vigilator brings a single stroke of her executioner's great blade, honed not only to pierce flesh, but to sever your very soul itself. As always in this series, we're going to take a look at 3 different things: how long it roughly takes him to level up to Diamond 3 when compared to other characters, his traits and general usefulness, and how good he is in legendary events. I'm not going to be looking too much into his usefulness in guild raids or tournaments, as I'm going to leave that to our other wonderful content creators. So let's dive right in. And Atlacoya is unlocked in the usual character release event. This one is an Auric Champions event, and it starts on Sunday 20th of July, so you'll be able to get her very soon. It sees you collecting Praetorian points by completing missions, which are then converted into gifts of Terran Artifice, and these allow you to open Auramite chests, which have Auramite Champion shards and other goodies within them. These shards can then be used to unlock and level up Atlacoya. You can see the missions on screen now. If you need help with these missions and getting the best possible start, then definitely check out my beginner's guide to character events, which is linked in the description below. Basically, if you play through the tournament arena and spend 110 blackstone per day, we will definitely be able to pick up each character at Epic 1 level without the need to purchase any additional packs. And with this video, I've hit another amazing landmark in my Tacticus career. You have all carried me through the 7,000 subscriber mark, and as always, that means I get to give a little love back to the community with a code DBPreacher7K. This time I'm going to give some of my favourite faction, the Gene Stealers, back to you. I believe Jude to be a really underappreciated character, and alongside Atlacoya, she's another kick-ass woman in Tacticus, and so it's her shards I'll be giving away along with some coins. And just remember, every 1,000 subs the content creators hit means some more wonderful loot for all of us, so don't just subscribe to me, make sure you subscribe to all the creators. Personally though, I'll see you again at the 8k mark. Let's see how quick we can get there. And in the meantime, if you want to earn some free blackstone to help you on your way, you can use my Referral Code in-game today to get 100 free blackstone. Just note that you can only use one person's Referral Code, so make sure you make the most of it. Let's start by looking at roughly how long it takes characters to level from Stone 1 to Diamond 3. The reason I say roughly is because my sheets don't take into account all the extra ways you can get free energy, like in the tournament arena, items gifted to you from your guildmates or from the daily shop. It also doesn't take into account any hard to get items that haven't been added to a lot of places yet. But even with all that in mind, it's always interesting to see how they compare to other characters. So what about Atlacoya? Where does she fit in? Well, before we dive too deep into Atlacoya's position, we need to look at some late patch notes from Snowprint, because they affect the Adeptus Custodes characters. Adeptus Custodes craftable upgrades have been brought in line with similar faction upgrades, and to be more lore aligned. And all of this does change leveling ever so slightly for the champions, because it now takes Trajan and Carrion 37 days instead of 38 days, while Aesoth remains at 38 days overall. And for Atlacoya, she comes in 85th place, taking around 37 days to go from Stone 1 to Diamond 3, and she is the easiest Adeptus Custodes to level, and sitting just below Trajan and Carrion. Overall, the Adeptus Custodes are still pretty easy to level compared to the rest of the characters in the game, and if we take a look at the graph, we can see her over there on the right hand side. It takes Atlacoya 3 days to go from Stone 1 to Bronze 1, another 2 days from Bronze 1 to Silver 1, 4 days to Gold 1, 13 days to Diamond 1, and then 15 days to Diamond 3, which of course adds back up to total 37 days. But let's see if it's worth us investing our time in Atlacoya. So we'll start with her traits. Atlacoya is an Imperial character. She has a Power 3 melee attack with a 40% pierce ratio, and she has no ranged attack. Strangely, she doesn't seem to have the Custodes special trait, Martial Kata. Instead, she has Parry, which reduces incoming melee attacks by 1 hit down to a minimum of 1 hit. And she also has a Terrifying trait which reduces melee damage by 30%. Next, we'll look at the character's melee damage, range damage, and defense. We do this by leveling the character up to be Winged Diamond 3 with level 30 skills and no weapons or equipment. This is just to equalize the playing field. Then, Castellan Creed, the character with the most average armor and traits in the game, becomes a punching bag for them to test their damage. And finally, Creed will punch them back to see their defensive skills. This is all then ranked against everyone else in the game, so let's see how they do today. Creed, are you ready for today's test?
Hello, Atlacoya! So you are a Null Maiden? You have no warp presence and leave anyone nearby to feel a deep sense of unease, right? In other words, exactly what most Warhammer fans feel when a woman turns up at the local gaming store.
Alright, thank you for that, Creed. Now let's get on with it. Atlacoya's melee attack does 3,537 damage, and she takes 1,274 damage from Creed. And well, I'm pleasantly surprised with both of these results in all honesty. Firstly, her damage puts her in at 17th place, which is not too shabby at all. In fact, it's just a couple of places behind Asoth, so she's really going to pack a punch, and of course, Creed is no psyker either. As we'll find out shortly with her skills, that definitely is going to make a difference. Then for her defense, she comes in at 13th place, and you can really see the power of her parry and Terrifying traits because Creed is reduced by both of them. In hand-to-hand combat, she will do not bad at all, although of course anyone hitting her from range will have a much easier time. Moving on to her skills, her passive is Daughter of the Abyss, which is in the buffing category of skills. And firstly, Atlacoya reduces damage from enemy psychers, which of course is very on point with her lore. As a Null Maiden with an aura around her, she also protects any friendly units within 2 hexes as well. Finally, her passive increases the damage that other psychers take within 2 hexes. It's pretty specific, but pretty awesome too. Should this be prioritized over others for new players? Definitely not. This is for advanced players or lovers of the character. Her active is Talons of the Emperor, and this is in the damage category of skills. And this is a pretty big bomb of an attack that grows over time. It starts as a power damage attack, and gains extra damage each time a character uses an active ability in battle. As usual, that won't count for stance switching champions like Forecast or Tangida, but it does count characters like Baraquel, Ahriman, Asoth, or Carrion, who can use their active multiple times in one battle. Then, if Atlacoya is next to one of her Adeptus Custodes faction teammates, or her target is a Psyker, then this damage is changed to direct damage instead. And if you've pumped her up with nearby actives, then that's really going to hurt, as it has a 100% pierce ratio. But should this be prioritized as a skill over others for new players? Not really. Damage skills only come later after spawning and healing skills. But what do I think about her traits and skills? Well, I feel it's a bit like Cygex. They're a tool to be used in specific circumstances, and she's definitely a good tool that can unravel enemy psychers on the battlefield. Any psyker character is seriously going to be reduced and will be destroyed by her when she gets close to them. It really is strange to see her without the Adeptus Custodes Martial Kata trait though. That's the first time we've ever had a faction that doesn't have a full faction bonus. I don't know why it's missing from her, instead being replaced by Parry and Terrifying, but all I know is that these traits will increase her survivability a little bit, but not enough if she's facing someone like Karn. She has a small health pool and weak armor, so he will just blow over the top of her. But let's take a look at what different modes she can fit into. Firstly, I'm not really excited about her position in legendary events, but we'll see how many she fits into shortly. She does have parry, terrifying, power damage, and direct damage, but I don't think that's going to be enough to be a high score. For guild raids though, the Adeptus Custodes are really starting to look like a real force to be reckoned with, especially against psyker enemies. I know everyone that can afford a new team will be trying these out, so let's keep an eye out for their real scores versus the other 3 meta teams we currently have. For Guild Wars, in defense, I don't think she's worth considering because she's she's so weak. It's not really the strong image we expect to be portrayed today with characters wearing a top-knot haircut. However, in attack, she will definitely be a force to be reckoned with if you come up against a team of Psychers, as she can practically take them down single-handedly. And then for Tournament Arena, I think there are just much better characters because Psychers are generally ignored in this mode due to their squishiness. And so who does she work well with? I mean, it's easy to see that they're a tool that fits incredibly well within their own faction, the Adeptus Custodes, as they love to be close to their faction buddies to maximize the potential of their active Talons of the Emperor. With Asoth and Carrion boosting it up every time they use their actives, especially in a long drawn-out fight, then standing next to any of them will make her hit direct damage to any character in the game. She feels like someone you'll want to have standing at the back of the group, waiting for the exact right moment to swoop in and crush some huge tank going straight through its armor. Outside of that, you could play around with a team that has characters that use lots of actives, but honestly, I think it's more important who she's facing rather than who she's fighting with if it isn't the Custodes. She either fights a Psyker specifically, or she fights with her faction. So overall, for Atlacoya, she's really a specific character, and I'm going to have to level her up because I feel that Adeptus Custodes are going to be a real force to be reckoned with in Faction Arena as well as in guild raids, and she might help against some of the Psyker bosses, but it's a painful one in truth because like Cygex, I feel she won't get much use outside of these places, and I'm usually more focused on characters that are more versatile, so it's a tough decision overall, but I actually think I would say that you should just leave her at Stone 1 for a long time until you feel you're ready to have a specific character like this in your back pocket that you can pull out and destroy Psychers. Now let's get into the legendary events, and there are some changes here because the Mephiston event is done and the Lucius event has been added, so we'll see at the end how that changes things with the best legendary characters. But let's check out how well Atlacoya does first. Starting with the Pattermine event, in the Alpha track, she appears in the melee and max 4 hits battles. In the Beta track, it's no Imperials, so she doesn't get to play, and in the Gamma track, she appears in the no Overwatch, no Final Vengeance, and Power battles. And so she ends up on a score of 260, which is just below the average for this event. Moving to the Dante event, in the Alpha track, she only appears in the Power Damage battle. In the Beta track, she only appears in the Max 3 Hits battle, and in the Gamma track, she doesn't appear at all because Imperials are not allowed. And so she ends up with 110 points, which again is below the average for this event. Moving to the Trajan event, in the Alpha track she appears in the Terrifying battle. Moving to the Beta track, she doesn't get to play because Imperials are not allowed, and in the Gamma track she appears in the no bolter damage and minimum 3 hits battles, and so she ends up with a score of 175, which is again below the average for this event. It's not looking good for Atlacoya. Moving to the latest event that's been added for Lucius, in the Alpha track, she appears in the no bolter damage battle. In the Beta track, she doesn't appear in any battles, and in the Gamma track, Imperials are not allowed, so she doesn't appear in any battles, and so she ends up with a miserable score of 60, and that is again well below the average for this event. And so, after the excitement of Carrion, we're definitely brought right back down to ground as Atlacoya comes in 82nd place. Basically, she's pointless to level for legendary events, and so for me, that makes her even less of someone I'm interested in. The only battle she might be useful in is the Terrifying Trait battle in the Trajan Alpha track, but honestly, I think I'd much rather level up all the other characters before her as they have more use generally. However, as the Mephiston event has left us and the Lucius event has joined us, it's now time to take a look at the new top 20 scoring champions for the current legendary events, and there may be some surprises here for you. Firstly, regaining their top spot after a while in the back burners, it's Calandus. That little sniper has always had a use, especially in piercing and one-hit battles, so it's again time to push them up a little bit. Then we have two characters that I don't really like to prioritize in legendary events, and that's Yazagor and Neurothrope. Both are squishy, and Neurothrope has a close combat problem when someone gets on top of him, and that's always happening in the later stages of a track. But three excellent characters come in next. Revas, one of my most important characters in legendary events, who's incredible when paired up with his partner in crime Aleph Null. Metanio's next, and although a bit squishy, his spawns do help in the lower battles. And then Tyrant Guard, who is my favourite tank in the game, and someone I also think you should be prioritising a lot. Dante comes in next, and although I'm leveling him to Diamond 1 right now because of his high position on this list, I still think he's a pretty overrated character personally. There is lots of love from others for him though, so don't take my word for it. Thaumachus is next up, and is a really interesting character. He drops a shield on a nearby ally, and that can really help in legendary events. He's also a one-hit flying psyker, and that means he joins into quite a few battles. He is a bit squishy though, but if you can protect him, then he can protect you. Lucian and Ahriman round out the top 10, and they are both okay picks for legendary events, but nothing special. Outside of the top 10, Aleph Null, Makotep, Typhus, and the Pattermine are really the characters that I would recommend to put some levels into them. And we can see that Carrion has dropped quite a bit, even from his time of his own video, and so he's now down in 20th place. Perhaps not quite the powerhouse of legendary events that we'd hoped for. So, what do you think of Atlacoya? Will this chaste maiden be someone you chase around, or will you be pulling your own vow of silence when she's launched? Either way, you can check them out right now in the latest version of the Google Planner Sheets linked below.